John Gonzalez, CSN Philly, joins us now with some opinions on, John, 3 years in the making. It feels like this huge night of 3 years in the making. We're finally here. Is tonight the Ben Simmons being picked number one, is that satisfying enough for you after the last 3 years to get to where they've been to tonight? Is Ben Simmons a satisfying enough ending to the Hinkie era, I guess?
It's definitely a good component to the process, right? I mean, they didn't pick first last year. They didn't pick first the year before. They tried to maximize their odds. But I think, from a reward perspective, it's a pretty good one. And if you're Sam Hinkie, you're probably sitting out there somewhere going, see, this is what I was telling you guys about all along. It's starting to come together a little bit here.
It is, and let's get your take on Simmons. I mean, is he the guy you would want? I mean, when they got the number one pick, is it Simmons definitively? Did you go back and forth, or was he always the guy for you?
Yeah, I did go back and forth. I really like Brandon Ingram. I think he's going to be a really good basketball player at the NBA. He's got a nice shot. He's so long. He can get to the rim. Really, if he's on the perimeter in 1 or 2 steps. He's going to create matchup nightmares for opposing teams. He needs to put on weight, but he's going to be really good. But ultimately, I'd take Simmons. He's right now 6'10", 240, adding muscle, so he's got an NBA body. He's going to be a good defender out of the gate, an excellent rebounder. He'll do that well out of the gate. Everybody knows about what a fantastic passer he is. He'll be good in transition and in the half court in that sense. So I think the questions about his shot are legit, but even if his shot stays flat and stagnant, he's going to be a really good player just with the skill set he currently has. And then if he can develop a shot, now watch out. You've got a guy who's going to be special.
He does, and then that kind of leads us into the rumors that are circulating here. How much, John, do you think the Sixers want to get back in terms of, number 3? We've heard Boston a lot, but if they don't get 3 and there's a certain guy there, would they try for 4, 5, 6 until that guy they want is off that board?
Yeah, I don't know how they go 4-5. Because 4-5 is Phoenix, Minnesota. So Phoenix has Alex Glenn. They just drafted him a couple of years ago. Are they ready to cut ties and bring in an Oakfor? I don't think those two guys together. And then 5 is Minnesota. You can't put Oakfor with Karl Anthony Towns. That doesn't work. So how are you doing trade with those two teams? I'm not sure that you could. Unless you unload Nerlens, who's a little bit more versatile and doesn't need the ball offensively. So I think it's going to be tricky. If it's not Boston, I don't think it will, because I'm not sure that Oakfor for the 3 is enough value for Boston. I think that it might be post-draft, in the coming weeks trades rather than a draft night bonanza.
John Gonzalez is with us from CSN Philly. And, John, which guy do you deal if you have to deal a guy? Is it Noel or Oakfor? And do you ever think it is necessary to just move someone?
Yeah, they're going to have to move somebody. These guys aren't going to all fit together long term. I mean, this is not a tenable situation. If it's me, in a complete vacuum, it's Oakfor in a landslide that I'd move. He's a scorer, and I know the Oakfor defenders go, he's 20 and 10 and he's only 19, except for none of those things are true. He's not 20 and 10, and he's not 19 years old either. He wasn't a good rebounder last year. If anybody actually paid attention to the numbers of the rebounding, he wasn't good at that. He was a terrible defender. And beyond that, offensively, one of the principal things in the NBA right now is in addition to having outside shooting and spacing the floor, you need ball movement. And he's a ball movement killer on offense. The ball goes in, he sets up his back end with a couple of dribbles. Now all of a sudden everybody's standing around the perimeter. The ball isn't moving. The offense just stagnates. I would move him in a heartbeat. The problem is I think that Noel has more value on the open market because he does more things. He's not a good scorer, but he's better at everything else than Jahlil Oakfor. So I think, I'd rather keep him, but he'd probably return more value.
Now, do you see a scenario at all with which guy, number 3, gets along best with Simmons? Is that kind of your analysis? Who do you think gets along best with Simmons at 3? Who fits?
That's a different question than who I would take. I'd have Dragon Bender there, and I'd grab him, and the best player available, a guy who could be a very, very, very good player in the NBA. But the problem is, it's going to take time, and I think previous regime would value Dragon Bender the most 3. Current regime won't. Current regime is probably what you'd think, which would be Chris Dunn, and he'll be fine. I think he's going to be a really good player. He's got an okay outside shot. I think it was like 37% from 3 last year, which is fine. It translates to the NBA, you'd hope. He's got a good NBA body. He's good defensively. But he's also like a guy who generally had the ball in his hand. So I wonder how much of a fit that would be. But I would expect that if they did somehow get that 3rd pick, that all the smoke you've heard about them coveting Chris Dunn is probably true.
Now, Mike and I have talked. Does a Dunn and Simmons pair even work or make sense? Because many people think that Simmons should be this point forward and play with the ball in his hands the majority of the time, and that it doesn't even work. I mean, are we off base here?
Yeah, I don't think that it's a perfect fit, but then also if they think he's the best player available, you grab him and you see how it works. Kind of like, I think I'll put it this way. When the Sixers took Oakfor last year, I was adamantly against it. I thought it was a terrible move. I didn't see how it was going to fit. It didn't make sense, even though he was technically best player available on the board, or so some people thought. I had Kristaps Porzingis higher. With these two guys, if it does end up being Simmons and Dunn, and again, I still think that's sort of a long shot that they get that 3rd pick, but if it does end up being that, that'll be an easier fit because they're both guys who are fast first. Positionless basketball is sort of in vogue. You want guys who are like multi-dimensional in terms of their talent and skill set. I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world, but I would rather see somebody who's got a better shot next to him.
John Gonzalez, CSN Philly, with us. So, John, do you advocate moving one or the other, keeping the guys? Because, a lot of you just said you were against Oakfor, but is Oakfor a better player than anyone you would get after number 1 or number 2?
That's an interesting question. I think, again, in a vacuum, is Oakfor better than, I'd rather have Dragon Bender, but is he better than Chris Dunn? I don't know. That's a closer comparison. But that's not really, you can't really do it in a vacuum, right? You have to do it in what's better for the Sixers, and you can't have all those guys. You can't have Embiid and Noel and Oakfor and then Sarge and then, somebody's got to go. You've got to unclog that front court. So if it was straight up Oakfor for the number 3 pick and they took Chris Dunn, I would rather have Chris Dunn than Oakfor for the Sixers.
So if that is the deal that's on the table, is that the deal? I mean, is that the only deal, or do you think there's something just hanging out there that the Sixers, because I've kind of said, I think the Dunn stuff is there's too much going on there. I would be, now I'm to the point where I'm pretty surprised if they take Dunn. But like Pete said, I don't know. If you have Simmons on your team and you're saying, all right, he's a point forward or even a point guard, some people surmise, him and Dunn, to me, don't really mesh a whole heck of a lot because Simmons is a guy who's going to have to dominate the ball. I'd be more surprised if they took Dunn unless they ended up with like a Murray or a Buddy Hield kind of guy who's just known for shooting. So is the Boston move to you the only move that really exists and makes sense for them?
For them, it makes sense. I don't think it makes sense for Boston, though, which is why I don't think it's been done yet, and I don't think it will be done. Is the 3 and you're going to unload the 3, and you're going to get Oakfor back? Well, let's think about it. Remember when we talk about trades, people go, well, that makes great sense, right? But nobody ever considers the other side of the trade. Why does that make sense for Boston? Does Oakfor move the needle? They have a lot of guys in their front court, too, don't forget. They've got Sullivan, and they've got Olynyk, and they've got Amir Johnson, and a bunch of other guys. Drebko and whomever. Does adding Oakfor move the needle for them? I don't know that it is. I don't know that he would fit. I don't think that Brad Stevens would like him because he doesn't play defense, and that's a defensive-minded team. So personally, I think if they end up with that 3rd pick, it'll be more than just Oakfor. I think they're the side that has to give up more. And ultimately, I don't think the Sixers will. I think they'll wait a little bit, relook at the market after all the draft pieces is settled, and then figure out, okay, how do we move one of these guys?
Now, Brian Colangelo has kind of admitted that that 8 is about the cutoff point, and that they'd also trying to move 24 and 26. We know next year's draft is supposedly very deep. So would you rather them just go with what they got this year at 1, 24, and 26, or kind of focus on what they got going on next year, because next year they got a lot more picks too. It seems like you almost just want to kind of play it with what you got this year and not try to mess anything up for what you got going on down the line, because he said you don't want to race to the middle ground here, and it seems like they're trying to do so much in one night, and that kind of gets you to the middle.
Well, that is a really, really important point.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see how they do it moving forward, because we've heard all these rumors about how desperate they are to get a point guard. There are a number of reports that said that they were actively trying to get a veteran point guard. And to me, all of this signals like, we heard when they brought in Brian Colangelo, we're tired of being last. We're tired of taking all the heat. We're going to try to move this thing forward. They started this whole process to progress nonsense on Twitter. Fine. I'm concerned that what that will look like is that in their haste to be relevant again, or at least not terrible, that they will unload or offload some of these really good assets for not commensurate value, just to be in the 25 to 30 to 35 win range, so that they're not sort of a national hoops community laughingstock. And I think that's the wrong move. I think you keep grabbing good players, young players, hoping that they can develop best available, and you worry about the win-loss record as you evolve. And I don't think that they're at that point yet, but clearly they think that they should be. So I suspect that they're going to try to race to that middle.
Yeah, that's some concern here. Can you, John, give kind of a summary of your opinion on why, I hate to say the Hinkie era, but the last 3 years has made tonight, a reason why people who maybe don't even know that they hated Hinkie, why they're excited tonight? Can you give a little summary of why the last 3 years have all really added up to tonight and why things look so positive?
Yeah, I mean, look, even if you hated Sam Hinkie, and again, I was a big Hinkie proponent, I thought that from a super academic, macro, step-back standpoint, it made complete sense. But even if you hated Hinkie, and even if you hated these last few years, and you kept saying, they don't draft anybody who plays, and they're not winning any games, and we're never going to be good, it's undeniable if you look at the pieces that they have in place, the pieces that they're about to add tonight. They've got already on the team Noel and Oakfor, and Joel Embiid was just cleared to scrimmage again, and potentially Dario Saric is coming over, and they're going to grab Ben Simmons tonight, and potentially more, plus 24 and 26, plus next year their first-round pick, plus the Lakers pick still has to convey. Plus they have pick swap rights with the Kings, who are forever awful. These are all really good things, and a lot of teams that were trying to build for the next 5 to 10 years would be thrilled with that war chest. And it's because of Sam Hinkie. So even if you hated him, you can't look at that and go, well, they have nothing, because if you did, you're either intellectually dishonest or not intellectual.
John Gonzalez
it sounds like you beat
Sports Bash. What, not intellectual?
Yeah.
Thanks, buddy. Hey, Gonzo, you love how Mike Gill gives me the love, right? What are you hearing about Embiid? Can you give us more updates on him? Because are you feeling more positive that he's going to be able to actually contribute this season?
Wait, I missed who were you asking about?
Embiid, and if he's going to be able to actually contribute. And are you hearing more updates about him, or what tells you that the Sixers can feel finally relaxed, like this guy is going to contribute?
Well, they cleared him for scrimmage. He's not going to probably play in summer league, so they're still going to bring him along slowly. But look, when you're over there at PCOM for practice, where you talk to people who are there for practice, and the curtain goes up and Embiid's out there, everybody, and this was during Sam Hinkie's era, and now in Colangelo's era for sure, everybody will tell you what a monster he is against the guys they already have. Noel is a really good defender, one of the best defenders in the league for a number of reasons. He's quick enough to switch out on small guys. He's big enough and good enough at the rim to protect the rim. And Embiid just works him. It's you watch him and he'll jab step back, three, or pump fake, get to the rim, dunk. This guy, he's fixed, he's strong, he's going to have an inside-outside game. If he can stay healthy with his foot, and I think that they're hopeful that the second surgery went well, he's going to be, this is the guy, more than anybody else that they have, certainly more, I think, than Ben Simmons. If he's going to be healthy, he's going to be the franchise cornerstone.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people are holding their breath. The 5-on-5 is good news. But was it about this time last year that it seemed possible that he could play in the Summer League, and then it just went off the rails for him?
It did, yeah. It was pretty close to right before Summer League, or right around Summer League, when suddenly it was, oh no, second surgery, and everybody lost their mind. It was a bummer. But they think the second one went well. He went over to Qatar and rehabbed. There haven't been any I haven't heard a single whisper about anything like going wrong. He's added a bunch of muscle. He's lost some fat. You know, like he looks like he's moving well when he's practicing. Now he's cleared to scrimmage. Like, all of these signs are positive indicators. He's not going to play 82 games this year, but if he played like 50 or 60, that would be a huge win for them.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if you watched his ride along with what was it, Vice? But I thought it was kind of interesting that he said in that video, because you don't hear him talk. You guys aren't really allowed to talk to him. So to hear him actually say that he never at any point had pain in his foot was kind of weird. You know, he's like, it never hurt. They just checked it out and they saw something, and therefore I had to miss. So it sounds like he has not had pain. That's a good sign that he has not had any pain in that foot, even prior to the injury. It makes me feel a little bit better. I thought another interesting thing he said in that ride-along was that Cleveland had said he was going to be number one. That was it. He was the number one pick, and then he got hurt, and then everything kind of changed for him. But how much did hearing him talk about his foot and never having any pain make you kind of have a sound mind with him?
Yeah, he sort of said that before that was part of the holdup of the surgery, second surgery, was that he couldn't understand why he had to have a second surgery if his foot didn't hurt. And they were like, well, you know, here's the deal, guys. But my favorite part of that interview was when he revealed more about his Shirley Temple fetish. How do you drink 3 or 4 pitchers per day? That's insane. I don't even think I consume that much liquid per day. That's insane.
Grenadine. That's a run on
They
Grenadine.
should have served that to Sean Bradley when he was trying to gain some weight.
Oh, my gosh.
Hey, your thought at the end of the night, will Oakfor be here tomorrow?
Will Oakfor be here tomorrow? Yeah, I think so. I think the market for him is not as expansive as a lot of pro-Oakfor, pro-Sixers people would like to believe. And ultimately, you're not. I think that eventually they're going to move one or both of Oakfor or Noel. But I don't think you do it just to do it and, like, you know, bring in anybody. I think you got to get something good back, because even though I'm not high on him, I still think he can fetch, you know, a pretty good price in return.
So you think Noel will be gone tomorrow?
No, I don't think either one of them is going to be gone tomorrow. I think tonight's going to be a little bit tamer than we expected. I think that they pick one. They pick 24-26. They pick some guys in the second round. We all go home. We hear them say how happy they are, and then eventually they move.
Your thoughts on Saric? I saw you over at CSN Philly the other day basically saying, look, the Sixers are trying to con this guy into coming over because they know that they need him. He's one of their better players, but if he waits a year, we know the story. He makes a lot more money, but he seemingly keeps saying that he doesn't care about that. But ultimately, in the end, will money win out over Saric?
Yeah, I mean, look, if it's me, if I were him, I would wait. You're costing yourself upwards of $10 million by coming out. But all of the reports have been that he's coming. So if he comes, good for the Sixers, because he's a hell of a player. He'll instantly be one of their 5 best players. There's no doubt about it. I mean, like, assuming Embiid is healthy, he would be their best guy, and then Simmons, and then you'd slot, Saric in that Noel Oakfor range, like somewhere in that 3rd to 5 tier. He's going to be really good. He can pass. He can run the floor. His shot is coming along. He's going to be precisely what they need to add into this team. So people should hope that he comes, because he's going to be fantastic.
John, earlier today there were some reports about the Sixers talking to Houston. Now Keith Pompey is reporting that the Sixers have turned down a trade offer from the Houston Rockets for Noel in exchange for Pat Beverly and Trevor Ariza. Your thoughts on that pairing and group?
It sounds like a lousy offer.
Yeah, I don't like that offer at all. I understand, they would fit. They would fit with Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid and Dario Saric. I don't like that move at all, but Patrick Beverly is a really good defensive point guard, which is why he would fit with Simmons. And I really like Trevor Ariza as a 3-and-D wing. Fit-wise, makes complete sense. Or would you rather have Nerlens Noel, who's coming off of in terms of like your first 2 years, one of the best first 2-year defensive efforts across the board for like advanced defensive stats, and a guy who's young and getting better and like doesn't need the ball in his hands to make an impact on the game? Or would you rather have like two guys who are nice but average NBA players? I'd rather have Nerlens Noel.
John Gonzalez is with us. Tell us about the 700 level, because that's your baby, and where can we see you on Comcast? I know we see you on CSN Philly, but tell me a little bit about the 700 level.
Yeah, well, tonight we're going to be a PCOM, so we're going to have wall-to-wall coverage of the NBA draft. You can catch us all night after the Sixers pick. We'll have plenty of reaction. We'll have hopefully Brian Colangelo and some other Sixers luminaries on. But the 700 level show, we've got our NBA draft preview show up right now. You can find that at the 700levelshow.com. You can find it at csnphilly.com. And it's also on TCN this evening at 5:30 and 10:30.
Wonderful. And which roving reporter are you going to send to Hinkie's house to knock on the door and get his reaction?
Yeah, well, I think that's John Clark's duty. He's at airport and knock on door duty.
That's right. He has that app on his phone. He finds these guys. I don't know how he does it.
I want to find where Hinkie is tonight. That would be fantastic. John Gonzalez, everybody here on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN. Thanks, John.
Bye, Ken.